What is up, everybody? I am Caleb from gamerfaith.com, and thank you so much for coming to hang out with me and clicking on this video. And I'm looking pastier than usual. It's kind of strange. It's like when you look the same color as the wall behind you, you maybe know that it's time to get outside a little bit. Today we're going to be talking about whether or not you should give money to people who beg on the streets. And if you're like me, this has happened either directly or indirectly a lot. And what I mean by that is you've probably, at least at the very minimum, driven by somebody holding up a sign or something like that. And possibly, and very likely even, you've been approached directly by somebody. I'm not going to give you definitive yes or no on this, but I'm going to give you some ideas to think about. But I'm going to explain both sides of this argument first. I'm also going to give you some verses at the end, and I highly recommend going to those passages and reading the whole book or the whole chapter or whatever, getting it in context. All right, so the first point of view is that you should give to anybody that asks help of you. People would argue that if you're a follower of Christ, you need to have a Christ-like attitude, and a Christ-like attitude includes being a cheerful giver and happy to give and happy to help, more inclined to give than to hoard things for yourself, and that it would be kind of selfish, greedy for you to be like so concerned about yourself and harden your heart to people in need. The second point of view is that you should not give to anybody who begs on the street, because you don't know what they are going to do with that money, and you very well may not be helping them if you give them that money. For example, they might use it, the common one is they're might going to use it on drugs and alcohol, and you're not really helping them if you give them money that they're going to use for that. You're not really helping them onto the right path if you do that. And so, I mean, you should just give your money to charity. And I think the most compelling thing about either of these arguments is not putting giving out of the picture. I think you're immediately in the wrong place when you harden your heart to giving completely, and you can make a lot of excuses for that. And I talked to a friend of mine once, and he is hardcore about not giving to anybody overseas. That money, he was convinced it doesn't make it to its purpose, and blah 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 blah. But at some point, I believe that it becomes an excuse not to give because you're too paranoid, possibly. But we need to be ready to give. Either do we give to people on the streets? Do we give to charities? Do we do a little bit of both? Is there a combination? I think at the very minimum, your heart needs to be ready to give, because I think that we're called to do that, and I have some verses later that I'll read about that. Now, when you encounter an individual who's asking for something, there usually isn't 100% thing that you can do in every instance, because there are different individuals with different situations. It is okay to use your intuition and use your brains, but at the same time, be careful not to pass like crazy assumptions or judgments about people. I mean, if no matter what, the first place that your brain is going is they're an alcoholic, they're going to buy alcohol, I mean, that's kind of like a bad attitude to have about this. Now, if you smell alcohol on them, or one time I literally overheard, some guys talking about how they needed to find a way to get beer. Like, I literally heard them talking about this behind me a ways. So, I mean, you can use your intuition, but you have to understand, even if these people are looking for alcohol, they're still not in a good situation. Is that their fault? Yeah, it very well might be, but I mean, I've gotten myself into a lot of bad situations that were my fault too, and if everybody would have turned their back on me, that wouldn't have been good. So we should still be gracious to them. We can't just completely, they may struggle with stuff like that. But that's all the more reason to help in some way. There's things you can do, and if you find yourself completely out of the realm of helping, then sometimes money's the easiest route out. If they're hungry and you can get them food, or you can help them to find a shelter, or you can give them a blanket or whatever, and a lot of times that's a better option. But at the very minimum, like, if all you can do is give money, I think you should consider having your heart be in a place where you are caring about their situation rather than judgmental or rude or angry towards that person because, hey, it's your fault, you blah 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 blah. You just do what you can, but try to have a Christ-like attitude in what you do. I think that is the key here, is not completely focusing on them, because there are a lot of different situations, but focusing inward on your own heart. Where is your heart at? Are you acting in love? Because God, grace and mercy are a big thing, and we have to be able to show forgiveness, grace, and mercy to other people if we expect to have it shown to us. Giving to charity is always a great option. I highly encourage that, and if you don't give in any sort of way, I highly encourage you find a way to do that. It's very rewarding and it's very important, and I think we're called to do that. I have another video about how you can help children. If you want to look through my videos and find that there's ways that you can do an incredible amount. And I've talked to a lot of people that say, well, I don't make enough money to do this at all, period. I cannot give. I make barely enough money to pay my rent, blah blah blah. Like, I don't make a great sum of money or anything like that, but there are ways to give. If you're in a boat where you have a roof over your head, you have a vehicle to drive, you have basic needs, there's a good chance that there's at least some way that you can contribute. And just watch your heart. Are you just protecting your own stuff, your own needs, and hardening your heart to outside people? Because that's what you need to look out for, because that's a big place that you don't want to be there. That's not a good place to be. So if you are there, maybe you should start pursuing God and thinking about these issues and opening up your Bible and digging in and checking your heart and softening your heart, letting God work on you. And some of you may be in a legitimate situation where it's difficult to give, but I think it's always better to have an attitude of giving. I think God wants us to be able to have a giving heart, even if we're in a tight pinch. That makes it even more respectable. I mean, think about the widow and putting in all that she owned. Think about that story, and it's not a bad thing to give. So you're pretty safe if you have a giving heart. Then it's never really bad. I don't know that you can be too giving, is what I'm saying. One idea, thought that I've had that I unfortunately haven't implemented myself, but it seems like a good idea, is to make little packs. Like, go out and spend, I don't know how much money at the grocery store, and make little packs with water bottles and food and stuff like that. So if they are hungry, you can give them food. It is maybe a nice thing to throw in your backpack or throw in your car or whatever. Maybe a little something, food, water, if you have small Bibles, maybe a blanket or something like that you can be ready to give, because there are people suffering out there, and there's a lot of people that a blanket would do a whole lot of good for them. And there are probably local charities that are around. I know that Mel Trotter is one where I'm from, in the Grand Rapids area, and that's a good place to give that helps locally. So that is a big help. The main thing is, look at your heart. I'm gonna read a few verses here, and then I'm just gonna leave it to you guys to think about and pray about and see where you fall on this. I'll also put a link in the description to a John Piper video about the subject matter if you want something more to watch, a short little video that I found helpful and cool. But here are some verses to think about Once again, feel free to go read them in more in context if you that would be good. James 2:15 through 16, and all of these verses are in the ESV, English Standard Version. So if a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, be warmed and filled," without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? That's James 2:15 through 16. Matthew 6:3 through 4. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. That's more about the attitude of giving. For me, I think. It makes me think about, like, why am I giving? Don't do it for the wrong reasons. Luke 3:11, and he answered them, "Whoever has 2 tunics is to share with him who has none, and whoever has food is to do likewise." Luke 6:30, "Give to everyone who begs from you, and from the one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back." And then the last one on here that I have is James 1:27, "Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world." So I believe that it's really important for us to have a heart ready to help. And I think that's the main thing you should think about with this issue, is where your own heart is at. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this helped you in some way. Leave a comment below or a question, or contact me if you need anything or you want to say anything, positive, or you have some thoughts on this, or you found some verses. I'd love to hear from you. And anyways, thank you guys for watching. And check out the gamerfaith.com website if you want some more sweet articles, or check out the channel and subscribe if you like this video and you want more like it. That means a lot to us, and I hope that you guys have a great day, and yeah, bye guys.